Hey guys, welcome to the Whimsical Workshop. In this video, we are going to be upcycling a denim jacket by adding some stitching to the back. No special sewing machines required, so let's get started. Yay! Alright, so I am doing this as a blog for Bernina, and so you can go over to the link I'll put below and you can read the whole blog with photos on the tutorial, but I'm also going to do it here in the video, so we have both formats available for you. So I, like every other girl, love my clothes. I tend to do a lot of shopping, and I was always donating clothes to Goodwill or whoever, and so I kind of didn't realize the impact that was having on our environment, and now that it's kind of been brought to my attention, I feel like I need to make my clothes last a little longer. I kind of get bored with the same clothes, and I thought I could spice it up by adding some embroidery on there. If you've been watching us over on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, you'll have seen that I took this jacket from the Goodwill bins and I did some stitching on the back. This is all straight stitching using 28 weight Aurifil thread. And these were done with little transfers I carry now from M Creative J. I love her embroidery designs and her aesthetics, so we are carrying some of her products. I will put a link below for those. But these, you'll see through this video, you just stick it on and you stitch over it, and then you get it wet and it goes away and you have a beautiful piece left. So this was my first attempt at thread painting on denim. So in this video, I'm going to take this Old Navy denim jacket, and we're going to put a mandala on the back. This is going to be my artwork, and I'm going to walk you through all the steps. Now, we also are doing this as a blog in partnership with Bernina, and we will put the link below where you could go check out the entire blog over there, where you'll have photos and step-by-step instructions on how to do this. Or if you'd rather just watch me do it here, either is available. I recommend you check out both. So let's get started with what we need. Okay, so the first thing we need is an article of clothing that you can stitch on, and it can be anything. I'm choosing to do a denim jacket first. I have a third one too kicking around, but I had these two and I thought, why not start with those, because they're stiffer, heavier fabric, so they already have kind of some stabilizing properties to it. So I thought as a first project it'd be really cool. I have seen some lovely designs where they embroider on the jean pocket or up the leg of the jean, but those are more hand embroidered. The jean pocket you could probably get in the machine, but the leg, unless they're wide leg pants, it's really hard to maneuver and manipulate, because stitching these is like free motion quilting. And don't worry if you're not good at free motion quilting, this actually is a two bonus project. One, you learn how to thread paint on your jacket, but you're also going to be practicing, in the end it's free motion, but at a slow speed in a very small area, and you learn to control your machine better by doing this. At least that's what I've discovered. So let's go over what you need to start with. First, you're going to need a denim jacket. You will need a tape measure, okay, because we're going to measure the back of the jacket to make sure our artwork doesn't get too big. You will need our designs that will be available in the blog, and I'll try to put a link below as well. I'm giving you this mandala, which is the one I think we're going to stitch on my jacket. I'm giving you this mandala as well, which is not thread painting, it's just following the lines. I colored the different areas where you could use different color threads on it. It's much more simplistic than this one, so it's a really good one for beginners. I know it doesn't look that way. You're literally stitching on the line versus filling in all the areas. So there's that one. The other thing I'm going to give you is this little mandala framework. You can draw your own here. It does not have to be a mandala, obviously. You saw my first jacket, it was just flowers at the bottom. You can do whatever you like, but to go with this one, I wanted to make sure I gave you components that you could either do your own, do a simpler one, or do a little more complicated one. The other thing I highly recommend is the Sulky Stick and Stitch. This is a printable stabilizer, and you just peel off the back and it adheres to your fabric very well, because I've used this multiple times. It doesn't start peeling up really, I don't think at all, to me. And you can hand or machine embroider through it. It also has a grid on it, so if you're doing cross stitch on something that doesn't have a grid, you could do that. And it's so easy to remove when you're done. You just get it wet, you rub it, and it just comes right off. It doesn't hurt your stitches, it doesn't hurt the fabric. So I think this is a thing that to have. I got 12 sheets here. We also will have this in our shop online if you need to get your hands on it. They do sell this as a full roll, and I will show you if it's still under here. Yep. I was going to do an 11 by 17 design, so I cut these pieces 11 by 17 to go through the printer, and as you can see, they're still curling on me even though they've been under this thing for months. So I don't know how that'll work through an 11 by 17 printer. I'll let you know in the end, but this is nice because it's already cut to size and it's flat, so it doesn't roll up on you. But yes, you can buy this as a roll, especially like for me, I can just draw on it. I just use a light box and I'll trace the design through onto the 11 by 17. We took this same design and I turned it, I have my needle minder on there. Again, if you've been watching any of my social media, you've seen this guy. We're making progress on him, but he has like even more elaborate artwork versus this guy. I simplified him down a little bit. So this will become a hand embroidery design, but again, I could still just, you know, print it on this, stick it on here, and hand stitch it. So it doesn't have to just be machine. So we have the design, we have the stick and stitch paper you need. Then we're going to talk about thread. We'll do threads last. We're going to do threads last. Next, we are stitching on denim. So I recommend using jean needles. We are going to be using 28 weight thread. So I recommend using the 100 size. It's the bigger size. The bigger the number, the bigger the size for needles. It'll have a bigger eye. It'll just go through the fabric better. That is what I used on this denim jacket, and it worked out beautifully. And next we're going to talk about feet. Not my feet, these feet. When you're doing this thread painting, you're going to want to use open free motion foot. I love this foot. This is the one I'm going to use. I'm on the Bernina. It is the 24 foot. And this is what I use to do the thread painting. I also use it for free motion. Now there is this number 9 foot, and I started with it, but the problem is you can't see in the front. This metal is right in the front, right where you're stitching. So it's very hard to see what you're doing. So I did not care for this one for thread painting. I liked the 24 foot much, much better. I think most of them come with the 9 foot, so this may be an additional foot, but I can tell you I use this more often than this one because I can see what I'm doing. Or you may have a number 14. Can't see it. Yeah. You may have a number, whoops, you may have a number 14 foot that has the clear disc. In a pinch, it's okay over this guy, but I don't tend to like anything in front. I like to just see the fabric and the thread and not have any thing kind of in the way. Even though you can see through this, it can get a glare, it's still there, it's something on top of your piece, but it would hold your piece flat if you have anything, any fabric that's kind of needs a little extra hold to keep it flat while you're stitching. So this one would work as well. So we would use either the number 24 foot or the number 14 foot. So we've got our needles, we've got this. So now let's talk about thread. First, I'm gonna do the whole top in Aurifil 28 weight. The standard weight we use for sewing machines is 50 weight. Now in thread, opposite of needles, the smaller the number, the thicker the thread. So this is a 50 weight thread. Okay, and then I got all my 28 weight threads here because we're going to pick the colors together. So you can see this one on top is 50 weight and this one is 28 weight, and you can see it's much beefier. So we're going to use 28 weight on top because it is beefier. It means less passes of thread that I have to do to fill an area. They do have 12 weight and you can use that on top as well if you have 12 weight, but I find my machine definitely loves the 28 weight the best, so that's really where I'm going to go because I want this to be a successful project. So do practice on something other than your garment before you start to make sure that everything is working out, ideally on the same material. But I know I don't have a scrap of denim sitting around. You could use that. If not, layer up some fabric so you can get some thickness and see how that works. Now 28 weight will be on top. We are going to be using a 50 weight on the bottom and in our 50 weight in our bobbin. Okay, and I picked a neutral color that will kind of blend with my other colors. Now I'm going to be doing, I think I'm going to be doing the daisies mostly in white. So instead of using white, I am going gray, because then when I use yellow or any of the other accents, the greens, it still, if it popped up a little bit, it will blend because it is gray. If the tension is correct on your sewing machine, you should not get your bobbin thread on top. So this is a nice workaround from changing your threads for every color or having a million bobbins with different colors. I use a 50 weight neutral bobbin anytime I do blanket stitching, this kind of thread painting, even quilting. I'll put a matching thread for my back on the back. I will use the matching thread in the bobbin for the back and then a different one on the top. I find it works just fine. Now, if you do go up to 12 weight thread, happen to have 12 weight thread, I do recommend the bobbin be 40 weight versus 50 weight. It needs that extra little strength underneath. 40 weight is a little bit thicker than this one. I've done it with both. It works with both. But if you're, looking to get everything out of this, I would say 12 weight uses 40 weight, 28 weight uses 50 weight. All right, so we've got all that. So the only things we need to do now is pick our thread color. So this is going to be my design. So I'm an Aurifilosopher. I have lots of Aurifil threads, but I did splurge and get the Aurifil 28 weight 45 thread box. Ooh, it's so yummy. I love it. I didn't have a lot of 28 weights. This was pretty much all I had at the beginning, was those and those. So I didn't really have a lot of colors. And so I did splurge for this and get this box. It has the 45 threads in it. And it gives me a nice range of color to pick from, but then I don't want to forget these guys. So I also have these in a Yazzie thread bag that I took the inserts out so I could switch them in and out as needed. We need to pick our colors. I'm gonna go with, don't roll away. As I said, I was probably gonna do white, because this is the other thing you want to think about when you're picking your threads, is what is it going on? Like if this was a stone wash, like bleached denim, white probably wouldn't show up all that great. But I purposely saved this for my darker jacket, so this white is gonna pop right off the jacket. So we're gonna do white for the daisies, and I think we're gonna do, like, here's a buttercup yellow. So I think what we'll do is we'll just do a little buttercup yellow and go into the white. My white has a little piece of black fuzz in there. So we've got those two for the petals. The centers, I'm going to go, I always want to pick really bright garish colors, but this is a coat that I'm going to wear. So maybe not too bright, but I think for the center, we're going to do that one. This, so we'll go light to dark, so light to dark, but then I could even go outline it in that. So I've got those three. I will list the colors in the description below that I end up finalizing for this, so you could go get these if you'd like. So we've got the flowers, that's that, and that's that. And then we've got our leaves. I am going to go, let me think here, because I could go, I know it should be green, but who says it has to be green? I could go turquoisey for the leaves, or we could go with the limier green. What is this green over here? See, that's almost too dark on that jacket. It's just not gonna pop. Same thing with this. It just disappears into the jacket. So you almost have to go like that, or even, no, those are about the same. So like you could go, this is a really pretty variegated greeny white. So we could go that way. I kind of like the idea of turquoise leaves though. I think that would be really pretty and different. And since I don't tend to have a lot of these greens, maybe we'll do that for the leaves. And then this can go back. And I do have a really pretty variegated that we could No, I think I like those better. All right, so we've got our leaves are going to be turquoisey green. We've got the daisies. So the only thing left is in here. And so we just need a pop of something. And I'm thinking that's either cheddar yellow, or we could even throw in that purple. The purple against everything is really pretty. Because again, if I go too dark of a purple, it's just gonna fade away. And then I do have some of this left, but I think that that might be, like we could do, so it's gonna be orange, all this white, this ring with green, this ring with orange and white. So yeah, I think we're gonna do the purple. All right, so now that we have our threads picked, we are ready to start measuring and prepping our piece. So let me get this cleared up and we will get back to that. So now that we got all our supplies together, I will show you how to set up the sewing machine when we get over there. The first thing we need to do is decide which piece of artwork we're gonna do. Are we gonna do the one that I'm doing as the example? Are we gonna do the simplistic line art one, which is still quite stunning? Or are you gonna take the mandala piece and create your own, or are you just gonna have a piece of artwork of your own? First step is to pick the artwork you would like to put on your jacket or your piece of clothing. Second is to measure the space to make sure that artwork will fit. Otherwise, you will need to either reduce or enlarge it based on the artwork. Just remember these sheets are only 8.5 by 11, so don't want to go too big. You could do 2 pieces, you could tile it and do it, but it's harder to line the work on here. So if you've never done this before, I kind of say stick in this range. This is already printed on the stick and stitch stabilizer. And so we are going to center it on my jacket. So to do that, what I'm going to do is get rid of this excess. And this is adhesive, so you don't want to necessarily cut this with your fabric scissors. Okay. So that's there. Now you could be really accurate and take a ruler and a square ruler and a rotary cutter and do that, but we're not going to worry about that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up. I can see through the artwork. I don't know if you can. Yeah, you can see through it. And I'm just aligning where that circle frame meets. So where this frame is meeting this frame. And I'm going to fold this in half to get my center point. And then I'm going to repeat this going this way. Okay, so now I have some center lines on my artwork. So now what we're going to do is we're going to measure the back. So first I want to decide how low do I want it from the top. And I think looking at this, okay, there's material underneath. I want to make sure this is flat. It doesn't matter, it's just easier to work with. So now we've got that. So now we are going to measure down from the top 2 inches and mark it. Okay, so I've got it marked across. So now I know that this is the actual straight edge. No, there it is. That's the actual straight edge of the fabric. Of the stabilizer. I can stick it there, but I want to make sure I center it from side to side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from the top. I'm going to measure this whole top piece. I can actually measure right where I got my marks. And that is 12 1/4 from bump to bump. That's 12 1/4, so 6 1/8 is my center. And now in this case, I'm going to grab a ruler. And I'm going to align it with the top here of the jacket and my tick mark for the center point. And I'm going to draw a line. All right, so we've got our center line going this way. Now this piece is 8.5 inches. We know that. That's 8.5. So we're going to measure down from my top part. And this is a little bit more there's a little more play because I have about a 1/2 inch here. Let's measure that. Yeah, it's just under a 1/2 inch. So I only need to measure down 4 inches. And I'm aligning again the 4 inches with my chalk line, which is right there. That is it. And then I've got this line. So now I'm going to draw a line here. Okay, so we've got that line and that line. So now that that's done, we're going to peel off, just start the edge. And we want to start on a straight edge. So there's a straight edge. So now once I've got it separated, you just want to start just the top edge, okay? Back. Okay, and just like doing, I know it sounds bad, but just like doing shelf paper, you're just going to align that top edge, and you can reposition. It's not like a permanent, but the more you reposition, the more lint that's going to get on the sticky stuff and the less it will adhere. And now we're going to peel the paper back, and we're going to smooth it as we go. Okay, there we go. So now my artwork is on the jacket. It's ready to be stitched. So we're gonna go over to the sewing machine, set up our camera, and get ready to set up the machine and start stitching on our mandala. All right, so we're over here at the sewing machine, and I'm ready to get it all set up to start our thread painting. Just know there's a camera between me and the machine, so I'll try really hard not to bump it, but it is a little bit hard to work with a camera, but we do it every day. All right, so first things first, we've got our bobbin filled with our 50 weight neutral. So we're gonna go ahead and put that in our bobbin case and pop it into the machine. This has already been oiled and cleaned. I did that before we started. So we're just going to go ahead and close that up and put my table back, my acrylic table back. Next is we're going to put in a jean needle size 100 or 130, depending on which number you go by. And these, I have an extra one here just in case. God forbid I break it. So we're just going to go ahead and put that in. Make sure it's all the way up, nice and tight. So that's in. And then the next thing I'm going to do is put my number 24 foot on. And we don't use the dual feeds with this because it's free motion. And the next thing is put my feed dogs down because I'm using the free motion foot. We're done with that and that. Now I'm going to turn you up. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to set up our machine. So I need to put that it's a 24 foot. I do have my needle down on because that is what I love. I do have the 5.5 millimeter throat plate on, not the 9 or the single hole. I like the 5.5. That's what we're using. Everything else is the same. The straight stitch is the same. The feed dogs is showing me that they are down. And so the last thing we need to do is load up our thread. All right, so we've got the machine set up. The other thing is if your sewing machine has a speed option, mine does, I turn the speed almost all the way down. So no matter how hard I hit the pedal, it will only go a certain speed. The other thing you want to do is get the bulk of the jacket supported but still have easy movement. We won't bump this too much. All right, can we all see? Can we all see? Okay, so the next thing I did is that center was one big circle and I want to do 3 colors. So I roughly drew 2 more circles. So I know this is my light, this is my dark, and this is my, light, medium, and dark. And I left them rough. I don't really want a perfect circle because it's supposed to be a daisy. All right, so here we go. We're gonna start in the center. And again, I'm always fighting with the bulk of the denim jacket, same as a quilt. So you may decide to start on something smaller. But there we go, and I'm going to hand crank my needle down into the center, just so that I know I've got it in position. All right, so now I've rethreaded the top and the bobbin because I was having issues. And now I have pulled my bobbin thread up to the top. I just hand cranked it and pulled it up. Now let's try this again. There we go. So because we're on free motion, the stitches are the length of my movement. I'm controlling everything because the feed dogs are down. And I am working in a circle. And I'm going to fill up that center, and if like in the middle you didn't really go over very well, you can go back. You don't want to go too crazy thick because it will poof the jacket out, but you can go over a little bit. And then as I go out here to this outer edge, I'm not trying to hit all of it. I'm actually leaving it a bit loose, because I'm going to start the next round filling in the looseness so it sort of blends together. It's like mixing a color. Okay, and then on the Bernina 570, which I'm sewing on, it has a knotting feature, so I go ahead and I knot it. There you go, you can see that first color. So now I'm going to put in the medium color, and I'm going to start by going over the light color just a little bit and then continue out with the medium. Okay, so I am going to show you how to do the half one. This is the center one all done. And again, I still have one more dark orange to go, but I have the first one and the second one done. And you see how loose and sloppy that looks? That's okay, because we're going to go over it with the dark, and that's going to blend it, just like I went over the medium over the yellow to blend that as well. I did notice my tension was a little off. I should have checked that first. So just be aware of that and check your tension before you get too far into your piece. It's not enough to worry about taking it out, but it is pulling down a little bit more than I'd like. So we are adjusted, and hopefully we're going to be good going forward. Oh, wait, I'm doing the wrong area. Oh no. Let's do one of these little half circles, and I'm going to outline first and then do half circle all the way. Ooh, there you go for a fly. So we're going to do the half circle first. I'm just outlining my half circle, and then I'm going to fill her in. And again, looser on the edge. It's okay to let some of the fabric show on the edge, and then I'm getting a little more denser inside. Okay, so I got to do that on all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of them. So I'm going to go ahead, stop the camera, finish those, and then I'll come back and do the dark and show you the dark on both parts. Alright, so I've done all of these. You can kind of see how they start to just sort of, let's get the light there. You can see how it starts to glow because the centers are light and the edges are dark. And again, we're just sort of going over the edges. So in this case, I outlined my outer circle, and then I went over the lighter orange a little bit, and then I filled in. So we're going to go ahead and do that again. So I'm going to do the outline of this, then go over the light orange again, and then fill in. I will do the outline of this outer circle, then I'm going to go in and fill over this light orange just sporadically, so you still see the light orange, and fill it in. And you can see these are starting to really glow when you go light in the middle and dark on the edge. And when I'm all done, I'll lay this out on the table so you can see it. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've stitched all of the yellows except for the last little flower in the center. And you will see, and I'm gonna have to get this up closer so you can see it. You'll see I went, very ragged edges, and I went up into the petals, and I made it pretty heavy. And what we're going to do then is we're going to come in with the white from the other side and kind of fill in those jagged edges to try to blend this. It's like mixing paint. So I've got one left for us to stitch right there. And then we've got the big guy in the center. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those stitched, but I wanted to stop here and kind of show you what I'm doing. Thread painting is really forgiving. I'm sorry, my camera keeps moving because I gotta get the jacket out of the way. All right, so thread painting is really forgiving. It's just being, the biggest thing is the order in which your stitches are going into the shape. And I'm gonna show you that with a piece of paper and a drawing. If I haven't already shown you it, I will show you it. I'm kind of doing things out of order on this one. So we're gonna go ahead and get this stitched. I wanna make sure you guys can see and that the jacket isn't in the way. There we go. So I start on the edge and I go up, and on the edge I go pretty like middle, then I go short, then I'm going long, then I'm going middle again, and then I'm going long and middle, and then right when I come to the next petal I'm going short. This will give a little definition in between the petals. If you go short in as you come up to the next petal, so there it is. It's all stitched. Now I'm ready to switch to the white. So I'm going to do this in white and then the tips of these in white. And so when I'm going to come in and out, in and out, and then I'm going to outline in the white. Just again, try to define where these two petals are breaking. So let me get that going and I will be back to show you the white. Okay, so here's one I've stitched. And again, with the petals, you just want to go up and down. You want to keep your stitches all going in the same way. And then here's the next one to stitch. You can see I've got the yellow laid down. So I'm going to come in with the white and do the white. And then we've got our big guy. So I'm going to try to stitch this with the camera in front of me. And let's see how we do. And then we're ready to move on to another object. So we're going to do the leaves next after this. And we're just going back and forth. We're going to go over some of the yellow. We're going in between some of the yellow. And you see I'm not getting everything. Well, I hope you can see. I'm not getting the whole thing covered in. I stitched around the edge because I want these to be roundy, not rough edge. Now, I can tell you the rough edge daisies are just as pretty, but this one I just wanted to do a round edge. And I just go back and forth until I feel like it is as filled as I want. Now, it is hard to do white on this material because it's hard to tell if you've got it all filled out. But once we get the stabilizer off, if you do have areas where it's too dark, there's too much denim coming in, you can always go over it without the stabilizer on top. It doesn't hurt it, and it will let you touch it up at the end. This is a very forgiving process. It looks so impressive and it looks really hard, but it is so forgiving, especially when you're doing things like flowers or leaves. This one's a little more challenging because I made everything kind of the same, but I also gave you, I'm going to move this back a little here. I also gave you guys a nice simple one to try, and I gave you the framework that you can make it even simpler if you want. But I do have to say, like I said, if you saw the other jacket at the beginning, those were all wildflowers. So nature is not symmetrical, nature is not even. So it's really easy because you can kind of just get the color in, and it doesn't matter as long as you're not too crazy. It still looks like a wildflower. So this is it. This is all we're doing. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to finish this and the big guy. The big guy is going to be done the same way. It's just going to take a lot longer because it's the big guy. And then we're going to set up to do the leaves next. And then we'll just do the borders last. I do think kind of doing this, it might be easier just to start from the center and work your way out. I feel like we're getting a little bit of poofiness in here, but that is up to you. I like doing all the same thing at once, which is why I did this. So we'll see once I get the leaves in if this still feels a little bit poofy. But just word of caution, you may want to start in the center and work your way out. All right, I'm going to turn this off, move the camera, and finish the daisies. Okay guys, so here is the Daisy. Now it did pucker up a little bit because I didn't have this hooped and it's a really big dense area. I actually like it because it's going to look dimensional on my back. It's going to ripple and it may flatten out once I get everything off, but just know that if you don't want that kind of a ripple, you need to use a hoop. Just an embroidery hoop, a plastic embroidery hoop will work. Again, I chose not to use one because I never had an issue with all the smaller stuff, but apparently when you get really big like this, you can get this dimensional warping. And again, that is because I didn't have it all stretched into a hoop. We're going to keep going because I actually really like it. And now we're ready to move on to the leaves. So for the leaves, sorry, I was holding the camera as I was going. For the leaves, I'm going to divide them in half, and I'm going to go like this, like a V. I'm just showing you here how I'm going to do it. So it'll go V's all the way down. And then after I do all of that, I'm going to go back and accent in the center with the dark. So this is going to be the light turquoise. Oops, the light turquoise. These little dudes back here are going to be the dark, and then the light will have a little dark accent over the top. And then finally, we're going to do the purple in these borders. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get the leaves going. I will check in with you and show you where we're at. But I think you're really getting the hang of this and probably don't need a full video of me doing it, but we will keep going. Thanks. All right, so I've got all the leaves stitched out with the light green. There we go. And now I've got the darker, well, it's like a mint green. And now I've got this darker teal blue that I'm going to go down the middle and maybe like, you know, I'm not sure yet if it's just going to go up and down or if I'm going to go like a V. I'll show you when I'm done. And then I'm going to use the dark blue and go in here as well. There you go. So that's what I'm going to do on each of these. And then back here, I am just going to start in the middle and go up and down until I fill it up. Then I'll come around, pick it up, and fill it up. So I always like to start in the center and work out to each side. And I don't know if that, you know, I don't know if that's like the way it should be, but that's the way I like to do it. And I do try to get right next to the last row. I don't always, so then I have to kind of go up in between. But the more you stack your stitches on top of each other, the thicker it gets and the more it ripples. And like I said, in this case, I really should have hooped this guy. He is rippling a bit on me, but I'm, you know, first of all, I've got to get all the stabilizer off, then I'm going to shoot an iron on it. But I'm, you know, even if it ripples, I like it. I like that it catches the light in different ways and you see the way the threads are. So we're going to just say it's a happy accident, but if you do not want yours to ripple like mine, you will need to put it in a nice tight hoop. And again, it's an embroidery hoop and you invert the hoop so that normally you would put it so the ridge of the hoop is under the work. This time you'd want to put the ridge of the hoop above the work. Let me finish this and then we'll be back over at the other table and you get to see the finished product. So here we go. This is all done. I have to take this off. This is a peely, the stick and stitch, but once I get it wet, it'll just dissolve. And here you'll see I did like a triple stitch for this outer ring and inner ring, and I did that last to try to anchor everything. I do have a little bit of rippling here just from the density of the threads. There's the other side. It's very dense. So we do get a little bit of a ripple. If you use a hoop, like I mentioned in the video, if you use a hoop in the beginning and really make this nice and tight in the hoop, you'd be fine. And if you didn't do something quite so dense, if you did the simpler one, you don't need to worry about the hoop. The stabilizer is enough. But I still absolutely love it. And this actually kind of gives it some more 3D effect, just like this did. So I'm okay with it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this soaked off, and then we will be back with the finished look, and you will see what it looks like, and we will be done. Hey guys, we are back. The jacket is all done. When I finished, I rinsed out all the stabilizer. It just comes out with cold water, warm water, doesn't matter. You just sort of rub it with your hands and it comes right out. And then I threw it in the dryer because obviously the jacket got very wet. And when it came out, it was all like crinkled up. And so all I did was I spritzed it again with a little bit of water and I ironed it, and it laid down nice and flat. Again, there is a little bit of a ripple from my texture, but very, very little, even less than when I was stitching it. And there it is. So just recall, just remember that these colors are going to be more muted because they're on a denim jacket. So the white, you could see where some of the denim is coming through, and I like that. If you do not, once the stabilizer is out, you can go back over some of your areas with the thread again, and it will just make it a little denser. You can see the more dense you go, the whiter it gets, but also the denser you go, the more bulky and more it wants to ripple for you. So there is the design all done. I'm really, really happy with it. And I can't wait to wear this. I'm going to San Francisco next week and I will be wearing this. So just remember, if you don't want to do the really complicated daisy, I did give you a pattern for just basic outlines. You just follow the lines. They're all different colors, so you can decide to do them all different colors, or you could do the whole thing in one color. Again, I really like Aurifil 28 weight with a, for this, a denim needle. For this, if you're just doing it on cotton, I would use a top stitch needle. For 28 weight, you want a little bit bigger eye, so like a 100 or 130 would be perfect for either of these if you're doing them on cotton. But on denim, you want to always use a denim needle. And then I'm also giving you a frame in which you can draw your own mandala. So you'll have those 3 items. I will have them below in the video description where you can download those, and you'll be ready to go. So I did just shoot a lot of video while I was stitching this, but it's really hard for you to see because I'm trying to, you know, not jingle the camera, and I'm trying to stitch and concentrate myself. So I wanted to take this with some markers. I'm going to show you how to do the direction of your stitches on each part of this. I've got some markers here to represent each color of thread we used in the jacket so that you can see that. Let's move these out of the way. So there's our jacket. Here's my piece of my printout. And so what I'm going to do is for each one of these, I'll show you how I did it, and then I will mark up the stitch length. Now remember, everything except for this purple border was done with your free motion foot, with your feed dogs down, and you're only going back and forth. You're only using a back and forth stitch. You're not doing any decorative stitching. Then for this braid, I used a triple stitch and I put my feed dogs back up. I used my 20 foot on my Bernina 570, and I used the feed dogs to help me get this really perfect circle. There is also a circle adapter from Bernina that is absolutely wonderful, but I didn't hit it. There's a wonderful circle adapter from Bernina that you could also use to get perfect circles. I didn't do that because I had already stitched the center, and you do put a needle through the center of the piece, and I was afraid it would split my threads. In the future, if I wanted to use it, I would use that first to do these, and then go back to the free motion quilting. But the 20 foot, the triple stitch, and the 28 weight thread worked perfect, and I just followed my line and went slow, and I have my frames. All right, so first we started in the center with the 3 oranges. We did light, medium, and dark in the center, and then out here we just did the medium and the dark, and depending on how contrasty these are, I may do that for the outside just to show you. But all right, so let's do this. So first what I did is I took a regular pen on my stabilizer, and I drew 2 circles. That was so that I knew where to stop my light and start my next color. And you do want the colors to bleed into each other so that this looks blended. So I started in the middle, and I just literally went in circles for the center. Now the thing about stitching is a lot like drawing, and I could just go up and down, but then the center doesn't feel as circular. So I did that there, and then out the next color was the medium. I worked in a circle very slowly, And this time again, I went over the first little bit of that one, and I just slowly moved my needle around until I went all the way around. And then once I finished with that, oops, I went ahead and I added the last color, and again went over my first color, or my second color, and just kept going round and round and round. So then to do these half circles, this, I took the medium color and I did a half moon, and I just like drawing a rainbow when you were a little kid. And you'll notice I wasn't being perfect. I wasn't being centered. Nature is not perfect. And then I took my next one and just filled in, going in an arc. I went in an arc. Okay? So that's the arc. And I did that all the way around. So I did all of those. So those were the orange. Then to do the yellow, the pale yellow in the center here, what I did is I did short stitch here, medium, long, medium, short, long. And then when I got to a joint again, I did a short stitch. Okay, and then I did a short stitch, medium, long. This just sort of gave me a break between the petals. And I did this all the way around, short, long, medium, long. It didn't matter as long as they were random. You can see how random I'm being. But I wanted the yellow heavy towards the center of the circle. And yes, the orange didn't go all the way out to the edge, but you would when you're stitching. And then a short, and then again. And this is really what flowers look like. They have like a darker center. And then out here I did the same thing, except along this edge I did do mostly yellow. Then I went medium. Then I went short, short, medium, long, medium. And you see I went all the way out to the edge because when I came in with my white, unlike these markers, the white will go right over the yellow. So you can be as heavy with that yellow as you want, and then just come in with the white and cut it down the way you want it. So that's how we did the daisy yellow. And then once we did the yellow, I'm gonna use this gray because obviously you can't see white. I came back in with the white and went all the way out. And then when I was all done with that, I would take the white and outline my petal so that I had white all the way to the bottom here. And again, you know, we went all the way out, we filled it in, and then we outlined it. So, and the same thing out here. In this case, I didn't outline the bottom here. I wanted that yellow to stay there. So I started, and then I did go through the petals. And then I started, and went through the petals. So I hope this is a better representation of how I did the daisy and the petals. Now, to do the leaves, I took the light teal, and I divided each of these petals in half. Okay, and that gave me a center point for each leaf. Then I came in and I started at the tip because I thought it was easier, and I stitched these in 45-degree-ish angles on that side, and then again on this side. So deciding which direction you're going to put your lines gives the piece more motion and direction, and this is what a leaf would look like. So this is how I divided it up. And the same thing here, just kept going. And then this side, same thing. In our dark teal, what I did is I went up and down and up and down and up and down like 4 times. Then I shot out this way just once, this way just once, this way just once, came back down. I stitched along the rib right there, the ring. Then I stitched up and divided that in half. And then I filled this in that way and came back around and filled in this way. And then I ended with an outline around the blue. So these I kept going like this, mainly because I already had a texture going here, and if I had tried to do that here, one, it would have took a lot more effort for very little impact, and 2, I liked the different texture that this was going up and down and this is going sideways or 45 degrees. I felt like that gave the piece a little bit more movement. So that was how we did the leaves. It looks like a kindergartner color. And then, like I said, I used a triple stitch and I did these rings and I kept the stitch following the ring all the way around. And I overlapped if I needed, but I kept the stitches following the ring to give this that wreathy motif on there. So that is probably a clearer way of showing you how I thread painted this mandala. And if you were to do this guy, let's just show you really quick. It's not like this at all. Let me take, what color do we not have in here? We don't have orange in here. You know why? Because it's not my favorite color. All right, so if I were to do this on my machine, I would do the petals all in one thread if you can, just like that. And again, my piece is just a guide, so don't freak out if you miss the line, because again, this is more of a natural thing. You don't want it, well, you don't need it to be perfect. We all want to be perfect. So then I would break my thread there, and that would be that one. Then out here, what I would do is, let me remember how I did this. Okay, I would start here with a new thread. Let's do purple, well, let's do a light blue so you can see it. Well, can you? Let's see, yeah, you can. So I would just start right here, and you loop, and you loop, and you loop all the way around with one piece of thread, like that. And this is also a good way to practice before you get to your sewing machine. And then once you've done that loop, you come back out and you do this as another piece. Okay, so that's another. And you just go all the way around with that one. Okay, then once you've done that, this out here is actually the same idea. It's just like this. And then you come in here and do the fancy loop-de-loop. So sometimes you just have to break down the pattern to make it easier. And then once you've done all of that, I need to pull a new color. Now we'll go to purple here. Well, no, there's purple right there. We'll just go back to our ugly orange. And this one is same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. And then out here, you're going to do the loop. Well, you're going to do the loop-de-loops. So it is the same pattern over and over and over. And then out here, you just, you just do, and you're done. So this one is a much easier mandala to practice with. Then you can go into the thread painting here. I wanted to give you both options because some people don't want to do thread painting and some people do. But again, we can all be like twinsies with our coats here. Mix up your colors. I used the 28 weight thread again. And again, if you think it is a little bit muted, you can go in and restitch it. I kind of like it. I love it the way it came out. I can't wait to wear this. So I hope you've all enjoyed this video on how to upcycle your denim jacket by adding some thread painting or design work to the back. Please leave me a comment below. Post pictures to my social media, Instagram, Facebook. I will put those links on the screen here again for you. I'd love to see what you guys do with this. And I would thank you for joining me. Make sure you like and subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.